Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us today. My name's Sam. I'm the marketing manager at Open Reality, and I'll be your host for today. Before I introduce your speakers, I'd just like to remind you that you are in listen-only mode. So if you do have a question at any point, please put it in the question box, and we'll do our best to answer it as we go along or at the end. We're also recording the session today, and you will be sent a link to the recording following the session. Okay, that's the formalities out of the way. Our presenters today are Don and Eric from Seven Signal. Hello, guys, and thanks very much for joining us.
Hey, good morning, Sam.
Thank you.
So it's been a little while since we hosted a webinar with you, but it's been really great to see your best practice webinar series. So if anyone hasn't seen them, make sure you check out the Seven Signal YouTube channel. In fact, there was one yesterday with Keith Parsons. Is that right, Don?
Indeed, we had a nice audience, over 300 attendees. So everyone loves the content from Keith, and he joins us about once a quarter or so. So it's good to stay abreast of what's going on with our webinar series.
Fantastic. So today we've got a bit more of a sort of update with what's new with Mobileye and a bit of a roadmap. Is that right?
We do. We're going to talk about the market. We're going to talk about Mobileye's feature functions. You're going to see the product. You're going to learn a little bit about our company if you're not familiar. So you're going to get a little bit of everything today.
Fantastic. Okay, well, without further ado, I'll let you guys crack on.
All right, that sounds good. Eric, you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Let's hit it.
All right, sounds good. So my name's Don Cook. I'm the head of marketing at Seven Signal, and as Sam mentioned, with me today is Eric Camuli. He's our head of customer success, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to probably go for, I don't know, 35 minutes or so with content and save some time for questions at the end. And what's interesting about where we are in this market, and a lot of things have changed since we talked to Open Reality as a group last, and namely the pandemic. And you know, while these stats are U.S. based for the most parts, I don't have a statistician for the U.K. yet. We're working on it, but you guys are in the same booth that we are, and that's work from home is here to stay, and this is really powerful considering the Mobileye product, which we're going to talk about today. And not only is the work from home phenomena happening now, we and analysts here, including Gartner, feel it's here to stay. You know, if you're looking at the communications that have come out from Twitter and Facebook and large insurance companies, and reading the New York Times over here in the States, the trends are all consistent with the same. And right now, IT and networking folks have no visibility into what's going on in those remote environments, those home environments. Can't see into the network. All those expensive, awesome tools that they have on their enterprise network are no longer useful for the most part on home networks. So their entire workforces are now working out of their home offices and having a completely different user experience than they were having before. You know, with their, whether it's video conferencing or, you know, some of their enterprise apps, and quite often they're not alone in the home anymore, right? So we've got the virtual students that we're all living with, whether that's higher ed or K through 12. My daughter is starting kindergarten this year, and she's even virtual. So you're sharing that network quite often with video conferencing, competing for signal for bandwidth and signal coverage, and we're going to talk about that stuff today. But you know, these trends just aren't going anywhere, and Mobileye is the greatest solution since sliced bread to handle this phenomenon and prepare IT teams and really organizations for the future. When you talk about contingency plans and sustainability. So we are having a lot of success. Just over the pandemic, we've given out almost 200,000 Mobileye licenses as part of our promotion. So I would suggest, if you haven't already, be sure to ask your Open Reality rep about the promotions that 7Signal has going on to get you a free trial of Mobileye, which is what you're going to see today. So some things to talk about before we get into the product tour and demo with Eric. We do have a weekly product tour, so if you have folks that aren't on the call with you all today that may be interested in these products, you can simply go to go.7signal.com/tour, and we'll get you signed up for those. And we're also working on a weekly one with Open Reality as well. So if you want to hang on for that product tour, you can certainly do that. But some interesting things happening. In October, you're getting a sneak peek of this. We're going to announce our iGel Linux operating system for Mobileye and compatibility with that, which is really, really big news, especially if you're in the healthcare space or manufacturing, large enterprise, finance, insurance, all areas where iGel Linux is most popular. Some cool things with our sensor as well. While we're not going to talk about it today, we've added some significant enhancements around OTA mode or over-the-air mode. And we're also this month going to be launching a portable what we're calling a Sapphire Eye 250 sensor this month as well. So really, really cool things and innovations that 7Signal's bringing to the table. And Sam mentioned webinars. You can go to our YouTube channel to access any of those webinars that you'd like. So for those of you who are not familiar with 7Signal, we've been around since 2007. We actually were founded in Helsinki, Finland, by some Nokia workers back in those days who were really stressed out about Wi-Fi and how it should be blazing fast and reliable. And we've hit a lot of major milestones along the way. We crunch a lot of numbers. Right now, we're analyzing over 1 billion data points daily. That's because we're on over 200 networks with our sensors, on over 5 million devices with our agents, and just significant growth over that time. We're homologated in over 40 countries around the world. So if you're a global organization, that will be relevant. We're also GDPR compliant, which I know is relevant to this audience. So not only we're staying up to date with our technology stack and products, but we're also making sure that we're staying compliant with what's really important, and that's your users' privacy. We've got 14 patents, so what you see from 7Signal and our products, you are only going to see from 7Signal. So that's something important to keep in mind. And I was mentioning the pandemic earlier, and more connectivity is a big role, plays a big role for your end user's digital experience, and that's the world that we play in. Without connectivity, there's no productivity. So 7Signal has built a completely outside-in enterprise framework that gives our customers full visibility into their environments, whether they're in the enterprise or remote. Everything that we offer is completely AP and device agnostic, so regardless of what access points you have or home routers you're using, or regardless of what devices that you're using, we'll be able to plug and play. So now, at the end of the day, Wi-Fi issues present themselves differently. It could be a lack of connectivity or slow, or the root cause is really what's behind those issues. And 7Signal, what we say is we look for the top 7 Wi-Fi problems with our software. Every issue that has to deal with Wi-Fi bubbles up to one of these 7 problems: coverage, congestion, roaming, etc. And what we're doing and how we're doing it is we're running active and passive tests on your network and on the device for things like packet loss, latency and jitter, a MOS score, have a full spectrum analysis with packet capture, things that you just can't get from other providers. So I mentioned outside in, and it's important to understand the difference. So this is your traditional LAN enterprise infrastructure. And you all have great tools on the infrastructure, from your access point providers, whether it's Cisco, Aruba, Extreme, Mist, etc. You have things for your applications through Abneta or some of their competitors, and you've got some infrastructure monitoring tools from SolarWind or Riverbed or others. And that's not the space that 7Signal plays in. 7Signal plays, again, from the outside in. So Mobileye, which we're going to discuss today, lives on the device where user satisfaction and digital experience matters most. So that's your Windows, your Android, your Mac OS, your soon-to-be IGL Linux operating systems, where Mobileye can be installed and start monitoring those devices proactively and also help with troubleshooting, which Eric is going to talk about today. And then, of course, while we're not going to talk about our sensors today, we do have a Sapphire Eye product. That's a perfect client or sensor that lives up in the rafters with the access points. That's what we call our Sapphire 2200. I also mentioned a portable sensor earlier. That's our Sapphire 250, which will live on the desktop, on a shelf. Does not need to be professionally installed. Where in some cases it's in healthcare, for instance, where it's very, very difficult to open up ceiling tiles and get sensors installed. This is a great option for our customers. So with that said, I'm going to pass the controls over to Eric, and we're going to handle any questions that you all have at the end. So please write those down, or you can use the questions pane to ask questions as we go, and Eric and I will address those at the end of the webinar. So thanks for your time, Eric. The floor is yours.
Hey, all right. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. All right, so you should be able to see my dashboard. This is for Mobileye. Let me review really quickly here. So Mobileye is doing three important things. First, as you know, it's on the computer. It's running as a service in the background. There's no user interface whatsoever. It's very, very lightweight, and it's interfacing with your operating system, Windows, Mac OS, Android. The first thing that it's doing is it's gathering up information about the client, make, model, operating system, your wireless LAN adapter, and what version of the driver you have. Okay, second thing that Mobileye is going to do is continually report on your connection information. What network are you on? What access point are you connected to? What's your signal strength? What's the signal strength of neighboring access points that you could roam to? And then the third thing that Mobileye does is continually do some Wi-Fi experience testing. So every few minutes, we're going to do a quick throughput test in order to see, okay, how does the network feel? Is it slow? Is it fast? Is it choppy? Is it jittery? Things of that, like that, in order to confirm or deny whatever allegations and complaints come up with regards to the Wi-Fi experience. Now, one of the things that I want to show you here, which is a feature that you may or may not be familiar with, I'm going to go to the configuration tab right over here first and foremost, because I want to show you this feature right here, which is very, very powerful. So this gives you the ability to lock down what networks you're going to measure Wi-Fi for. So as you can see, we've programmed into our system at 7Signal both our networks, the corporate network and the guest network. Now, this was fine because everybody was coming into the office and they were hopping on these networks. And then when they went home, we didn't really want to clutter up our database with all of their data from their home networks. As you know, the times have changed. And as a result, what we're doing is flipping this little switch right here. So I'm giving my software the option to either only test if I'm on one of the condoned networks or test every Wi-Fi network. And we've flipped the switch to test every Wi-Fi network because whether we like it or not, and I think most of you are in the same boat, people when they call up and they say, look, I'm trying to get my work done, I'm having a hard time with whether it be my conferencing or just uploading and downloading files to servers on the network or getting into the VPN. Unfortunately, up until now, it's been difficult to help them, but with a solution like this, we now can help them. So now that we're testing everybody on their home Wi-Fi network, when I go over here to Wi-Fi on the left, it's now going to list out all of the networks that I have data for. Again, traditionally, it would have only been this one network on top, but now that we've flipped the switch and we're allowing to measure people's performance on their home networks, you can see all of the home networks that we have here. We got some crazy names here, but these are people's home networks. I'm not sure I know what's going on with this one, but I don't like it. And you can see that we're rising to the top, or bringing to the top the worst performing networks, and it's getting more yellow, and now it's getting more green as we go down the list here. Okay, so let's scroll back up to the top where the worst performing networks are. And what we're seeing here is a 24-hour timeline where each little patch represents an hour. So there's 24 patches here. And I can scrub over the timeline and I can actually see, okay, where is there a bad or a poor Wi-Fi experience? For instance, on this network right here, this peanut butter network, I can see that, okay, this is probably when they were sleeping, and then the next morning comes along and I can see that somebody was having a problem. So I'm going to click on the patch because I naturally want to know who that is, and I want to know what exactly their problem is. I just click. All right, now with people's homes, we don't have anybody's home addresses in the system, so it's always going to come up as unknown location. All right, and the other thing that you should know is that we're not capturing browsing history or anything that they're doing in their house. All we're doing is capturing Wi-Fi performance data so that we can perform analytics in the cloud and actually determine whether they are experiencing one of these root cause problems right here that you see on your screen. So it looks like Paul on his MacBook is having a coverage problem. Well, how do we know this? Let's click on this red number 12 right here and take a look at his coverage problems. All right, so it's pretty clear as day. So here's Paul. Okay, I can see the name of his network. He is on 5 gigahertz, channel 36. It looks like he's on an 80 megahertz wide channel. And what I'm seeing here is that Paul is at a -77 signal strength with no better neighbor. If Paul were to call up and say, hey, I'm having kind of sluggish performance, can you help me out? I would look up Paul's device, I would see this situation, and I would very easily make the recommendation, Paul, I think you need to move a little closer. Okay, if you moved a little closer, I think you're going to get a better signal, and that better signal is going to transfer into a better data rate and better speed. I can't make that recommendation without having this data right in front of me. And that's what's really exciting about 7Signal and helping the work from home user. Now, if I wanted even more detail on Paul and what's been going on with his experience, because as you guys are aware, sometimes a person will call and they'll say, hey, I'm having a problem. And we'll ask the question back, is it happening right now? And most often, the answer to that question is no. It was happening this morning, or it happened yesterday or the day before. And then we're asked to try to help a person who had a problem and is not experiencing the problem. Well, fortunately, what we can do is we can go into our 7Signal time machine and we can go back in time and actually see what was going on your device in that area at that time. Okay, so here, let's go back 3 days in history. So I'm going to click the little 3 days up in the corner here. And when I do, I can actually see that these coverage problems have been kind of on and off for the last 3 days. Unbelievable, with it really being red right here and a little bit orange right here. Now, the other thing that's really exciting is that I am able to see the dips in data rate, okay, due to the fact that he's far away. And not only that, but I'm taking every 5 minutes a snapshot of the RF or the Wi-Fi environment in his apartment or house or condominium, wherever he is, as you can see here. So as we know, one of the biggest problems with Wi-Fi is interference, and it's interference from other Wi-Fi networks that we can't see. So now what I'm able to do is actually drill in and see where there's Wi-Fi interference and how that may or may not be affecting somebody. Let me give you another example. So from this page here, this devices page, I can search for any device whatsoever. And let's just say that I want to search, John calls me up and I want to search for John's device. I can search for him by his host name of his computer. I can search by MAC address or nickname if his computer had a nickname in my system. Maybe an asset tag or a serial number that you have as the host name. So let's click on that and let's see what's going on with this person. So again, I'm going to look at, let's just look at the last 3 days, and I can clearly see that there are some instances where his data rate is really dipping down low. And what I would do is I would look down here and I would see, okay, what's going on? He's on 2.4. I can see that because he's spending time on channel 6 here, and I can see on the channels. Okay. I can click on any of these dots that would indicate the time period in question. Let me click on this dot right here, and then I can zoom in to just plus or minus 1 hour for the time period in question. So let's do that. All right, and there you have it. And look at all of the low data rates that he was experiencing. And then when I look down here, I can see that he's actually sharing channel 6. This is him right here on channel 6. Look at this. There is another network right here. There's another network screaming right here. And this co-channel interference is actually going to affect his performance. This person called me and they said, why am I having all these problems with it being so slow? I would say, you know what? You're on 2.4. It's a little noisy. I can see these adjacent networks around you, these neighbors, these noisy neighbors. And what I would like to do is recommend that we work together to change the channel on your router to channel 11 or channel 1, where you'll be able to have a nice strong signal with much less noise. Once again, I cannot make this recommendation unless I can see this right in front of my face, which is really exciting. Okay. I can also see how this is impacting his performance because I'm continually measuring his channel utilization. Okay, think of this as like, okay, you've got a lane on the highway and that you're going very fast, and now all of a sudden that lane starts to fill up with cars. What happens? It starts to go slower. It starts to slow down. And I can see the spikes in channel utilization here, okay, and how that's going to definitely impact his performance. At the same time, I can also see how many other clients are also on the same channel that he's on in his own house or in his own apartment. This is funny because I was just working with a customer the other day who needed help troubleshooting somebody, and they couldn't figure out how to interpret the data. And as it turns out, we looked here at the AP client count, and there were 14 other devices in the house also sharing the same channel, spiking channel utilization up to 80%. When I asked about it, he says, well, I've got 3 kids at home, and they're all on their laptops, and they're all doing Zoom school. My spouse, and you know, she's working from home, I'm working from home, everybody's got their iPhone attached as well. So, I mean, things in the home can get crazy quickly, as you know. And then once again, now that we have that information, we know how to help them. We can say, okay, well, you know, let me show you how you can set up another network in your house and how maybe you can be on another radio that you have in your access point if it has 2 radios in it. And one will be for, you know, maybe half the household, and the other will be for the other half of the household. And as long as we're in different lanes on the highway, we both should be able to spread out and go fast. The other thing I wanted to show you over here is that we are gathering up all of the metadata regarding this person's computer. Now, the reason why this is important is because now we can run reports that tell us, okay, are there certain devices with certain configurations that have problems? That's going to inform my decisions when it comes to maybe some type of refresh. Not only that, but you know, many of us think that our environments are homogeneous environments, but they're not. There are many different versions of adapters and drivers out there, and they perform differently. And so now we're capturing that. Let's take a look at one of the reports in order to show you what I'm talking about here. When we go here and we look at this inventory report, okay, you'll see a list of all of the devices, and you can see all of the different makes and models of devices that we have. If I take a look at the inventory, this inventory report, you can see all of the different makes and models but you can also see all of the different adapters and driver combinations. Okay, so for instance, here I've got 2 different versions of the adapter and driver. Okay, we also can run a report which will show me which configurations perform the best and worst. Let me go to this one right here, roaming problems. Okay, unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody is having a roaming problem over the last 24 hours. Let's back it up to 7 days. And there you have it. Okay, so over the last 7 days, you can see that these adapter driver combinations have been causing some sticking problems, sticky client problems. What is a sticky client problem? Let's click on this right here and I'll show you. So here's an example of a device on this access point, on this network, on this channel, connected at a -75. However, on the same SSID, we've detected that there's an access point right over their head at -60. This is not a Wi-Fi network problem. This is a client device adapter driver problem. It's the client adapter and driver combination that made the decision to stick and not roam to the better neighbor. Now, there are some things that we can do in order to help these situations if we see this happening at work or at home. In fact, we're seeing this happen at home a lot these days because we're seeing people implement these mesh networks at home where they have these different base stations around, like one downstairs, one upstairs. And what's happening is that their devices are not roaming to the base station properly, and we will be able to detect that right here. We see it a lot. And what we can do is give some recommendations. For instance, you can disconnect and reconnect, and you'll connect to the one right next to you. Or let me teach you, if you have a Windows device, how to increase the roaming aggressiveness on your adapter. Go to the device manager and do that. Okay. And that's what a roaming problem is. So you can see here that I've got some combinations that are just fine and others that are having issues. If I had a lot of users over here, so here's the client count, and I can see, okay, well, how many users are experiencing this problem? All right, and so if I want to know who has this configuration or who has this combination, I would just click on the number right here and it's going to tell me. There you have it. It's this laptop right here, this client name. And I can see how many roaming problems they've been having. The other thing that's nice is right from here, I can drill into this person's device and I can get all of the rich data regarding their experience and what's going on. Okay. One of the other things that I really like, remember I said the #1 problem for Wi-Fi are noisy neighbors, noisy Wi-Fi neighbors. Okay, now this person doesn't have too many other Wi-Fi neighbors, as you can see, so that's good. But sometimes what's really, and let me actually bring up a device that I know does have some noise, because I want to show you how powerful this can be in making recommendations to your customer. So check this out here. So this is at 7 Signal Corporate. Look how noisy the environment is. Unbelievable. Okay. Now, and we see a lot of this in apartment buildings, in condominium complexes and such. What's very nice is that I can click on this little piece of paper right here to download all of this data, which is basically downloading a snapshot of what the air looked like from an RF perspective at this exact moment. So let me do that and show you what it looks like. Very, very powerful. I would then take this information and I would share it with the people, and so that they can actually see all of the different networks that their computer is hearing, because this is the scan data that we're gathering right from your computer. And you can see all of the surrounding networks, what signal strength it is according to your laptop's point of view, what channel they're on, what the channel width is, the name of it, and if we can, we'll get the channel utilization and the client count as well. You can see how long this list is, all of these noisy networks all around us. Unbelievable. And again, and look at some of these, they're really, the channel utilization really climbing up there into the 50s. So very powerful information. Again, the ability to go back in time and actually see what's happening is very, very powerful. In addition, we've got a roaming history where we can actually see how an individual, as they've walked around, how they've roamed from one AP to the next, and we'll color the dot in red when we see an instance where they're sticking and perhaps should have roamed. You can see in this instance that they were connected at a -72, but look, lots of small cells all around them that they could have and should have roamed to. Again, not a Wi-Fi issue, that's a client device roaming issue. And let me show you one other report here. I'm going to click on this right here, and I'm going to go to this 5 gigahertz problem report right there. And this is great because they all show up on one page. And typically we would take a look at access points and how problems have clustered around access points. That's why this is called a Wi-Fi problems by AP report. But with everybody working from home, we don't really see that condition anymore, which is why we added this new link right here, show all clients. And when I click on that, now I'm going to list out every single client and what access point they were connected to at the time that they were having problems. Okay, and I can just bring roaming problems to the top by clicking the title. I can bring coverage problems to the top. I can bring interference problems to the top. And there you have it. Congestion problems to the top. Let's take a look at a congestion problem. So let's click on this right here. So a congestion, actually, let's choose a different device like this one right here. Yep. So a congestion device, this is one of those mesh networks at home that I was telling you about. So this is a situation of somebody working from home. I would venture to say that they are right next to their access point at a -41, connected at a perfectly wonderful data rate, but their throughput is slow. There's 5 other clients in the house. The channel utilization has climbed to 12%, which doesn't sound too bad. Okay, I can thumb through these events in order to find maybe where channel utilization peaked. So you can see here at 8:45 a.m. this morning, East Coast time, or yesterday morning, this morning, I'm sorry. You can see exactly what the situation is. So what I would do is I would look into this and I would say, okay, is this an ISP problem? Okay, because my Wi-Fi is just fine in my house, but is my ISP throttling me so that I cannot get any more throughput than this? This is where I'm able to determine if the problem is in my house or if my problem is to my provider. And another thing that we added is that you can click on the client device right here and go to the detail. And when I scroll down, if I want to find out who the provider is, because I don't know what your provider is, it's not like you're at work, you're at home. I can click on who your provider is right here, the provider link, and it's going to do an ARIS lookup, this registry for internet numbers. And it actually, I know it says American registry, but it actually covers Europe as well. And when I scroll down here, I can actually see who his provider is. It's Charter Communications. Okay, actually, it's the same provider that I have here in the States, Charter Communications or Spectrum. So hopefully I was able to show you a few things today that are interesting and helpful. Remember, the idea here is we want to use Mobileye both as a tool to be proactive, where we can run reports and we can actually see, okay, what's going on from an overall standpoint with different adapter driver combinations. And then once again, we afford ourselves the opportunity to look up individual devices and then select them and see at a moment in time in history, what was the experience? And more importantly, what was the root cause? Because once I know root cause, I can then help a person remediate. So Sam, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it back to you and for any final words. But once again, hopefully seen a few helpful things today with regards to Mobileye.
Yeah, that was fantastic, Eric. Thank you very much. I think it's important to say, how regular the updates are for Mobileye. The development team has not been slowed down at all by the pandemic, from what I can see. There's a new feature I know about. The app now cell phone installs. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we are compatible with Android. We don't have an app for iOS. We used to, but Apple shut down a few of the very important developer APIs, so they don't provide us the information we need anymore to provide a usable app. But Android is alive and well. And we actually recently made some nice improvements to our Android app that you can get from Google Play, where it will circumvent or go around the doze mode so that it will continually run quietly as a service in the background. This is particularly important for our customers who have handheld Zebra devices that they're using, whether it be in a hospital or as a picker scanner in a warehouse or distribution center or manufacturing facility. The ability to just reliably run in the background, collecting all of this rich data that we're seeing right here is really, really valuable, really wonderful. And so just adding that robust feature to our Android app has been just a wonderful win for both our customers and us. The other thing is that we did add in some support for the Google Play MDM EMM API. Okay, what this does is when you get the app from the Google Play Store, there are certain integrations that then allow you to input automatically before you deploy it out to your device force. You can input your organization ID, kind of pass it in as a string so that you no longer have to manually type in what your organization is or your tenant in the cloud, your database in the cloud. So and it depends upon your MDM, like if you have AirWatch, which is Workspace ONE from VMware, we've been able to iron out a lot of the wrinkles in that integration so that it becomes as seamless as possible for you. Very easy to deploy out to hundreds or thousands of devices, almost as easy as if you were to do it on Windows, just using Microsoft SCCM.
Fantastic. So not only leaps and bounds in the actual dashboards, but also the deployment as well.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Very important.
Fantastic. Got a question about sort of licensing for Mobileye. Could you, Don or Eric, could you just explain a little bit about how that works?
Eric, you want to take that one? Or?
Yeah, sure. So with regards to licensing, it's on a per device basis. So for example, if you looked at your workforce or your device force and you had 100 devices that you wanted to put this on, then it would be a per license cost per year. Okay, for instance, like $50 per device per year is as an example. And so, you know, there's a couple different ways you can go. We have customers who really like the idea of being proactive so that when a person calls, they've already captured the data and they can just look and help them. And they'll install it on a very large number of their device force. And then we have other customers who will say, you know what, I only want maybe 100 or 200. And when somebody calls, I will deploy it to those people, have them install it, and then I'll wait a few minutes or get back to them the next day with what the issue is. Once again, you can do it either way. It just depends upon whether or not you want to be proactive or maybe you want to be more in like a help desk troubleshooting mode.
Great, thank you, Eric. Andrew's just asked about if there's going to be a recording. There is a recording. I'll send everybody a copy of that following the webinar. I'll also include some information about how you can access the free trial of Mobileye. If you like what you've seen and you'd like to get a free trial set up, then please, please contact us with the information that will be included in the follow-up. Or you could email wireless@openreality.co.uk with any questions if anybody's watching this on demand. I don't think we've got any more questions at this point, so thank you very much, Eric and Don, for a fantastic overview of what's new with Mobileye and also sort of 7Signal in general. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great. Okay, goodbye, everyone.